Okay, so somebody had commented in another video comment section about Harry supporting Niall. So, like I said, if there's any data that you have that you think is really relevant, let me know. And if I'm incorrect in anything, let me know, because, like I said, I am researching what I can, mainly because this is a hobby, so I'm not actually approaching it like I was gonna write an abstract or anything for a journal. But I wanted to talk about this thing about support. Now, one of the things, if you do an analysis and just a compare contrast, really basic, you will find that the support that Liam Payne and Louis Tomlinson gave to Niall, with that whole management turning off his mic and the Let Niall Sing movement, they went to bat for Niall. They did not have to, and they did it at a much higher risk and cost. Now, I'm not saying that Harry didn't support. It's just we have to look at the frequency, and can you, if you do any critical thinking, can you explain away the times when Harry supported another band member that didn't have that there isn't a way to say that there was some self-service and some self-interest involved? Because with Louis and Liam going to bat continuously for Niall, there was absolutely no self-interest. In fact, there was detriment every time they did it. But that's how you know a true friend. So what I'm coming to a conclusion of, and again, it's not a statement of fact, it's more just my own personal opinion, that Harry Styles only supported his bandmates in low-risk situations, and I'm not saying there was self-interest, but if someone wanted to play devil's advocate, they could find a way in a lot of the instances to say that, yeah, part of it was self-interest. Also, the frequency of the support is not as frequent as Liam and Louis. So if Harry, being the Mr. Favorite, had banded together as a trio to support Niall would have been allowed to sing much sooner. So keep that in mind. And Harry only seemed to support Niall being allowed to sing. If you look at the proximity of time, it was only after Louis and Liam had been really pushing. So again, low risk. Okay, so welcome to an analysis of Harry Styles' support dynamics in One Direction. And fundamentally, I think it was a lot of low-risk nature of the support he provided. So based on the documented accounts, Harry Styles' support for bandmates generally occurred within safe parameters that posed minimal professional risks. So, one, it was contained to already approved contexts. So his support often took place within already sanctioned environments like interviews, approved schedule adjustments, rather than through direct management confrontation. There's also an absence of documented penalties upon Harry Styles. Unlike with Louis and Liam, industry sources never identified specific professional consequences, such as fines, exclusions, formal reprimands that Harry faced as a result of his advocacy for bandmates. 3, working within a system boundaries. So Harry typically operated within established channels rather than directly challenging management authority or contractual obligations, allowing him to provide support without jeopardizing his standing. So basically, if you want somebody that is going to be the tried and true friend, Liam Payne, Louis Tomlinson. Forget Harry. He won't do it because he puts himself first. The only reason someone does this, with the amount of leverage Harry had, they didn't want to lose him. He had the most strongest bargaining position. He didn't do it. You know why? It's about himself. But again, I'm not saying that's the truth. This is all just my opinion, and you don't have to agree with me. So there were some potentially self-serving aspects around when Harry provided support to another band member. And the documented instances of when Harry's support contained elements that could simultaneously benefit his own position. So here we go. 1, reputation enhancement. Acts like redirecting difficult interview questions or advocating for equal speaking time enhanced his public image as a team player while building goodwill with both bandmates and media. 2, group stability maintenance. Support that prevented bandmate burnout or conflict, like accommodating Zayn's anxiety or advocating for reduced schedules, served to maintain the group's stability, which directly protected his primary platform and revenue source. 3, professional relationship preservation. By mediating tensions rather than directly confronting management, Harry maintained positive relationships with industry executives who would later be instrumental in his solo career launch. So basically, while Liam and Louis took the hits, Harry just kind of surfed upon their efforts, but did it in ways that would be a win-win for him, and did not ever leverage his position to really help Niall sing. Because the movement of letting Niall sing was Louis and Liam and the fans. Okay, conflict avoidance. So his tendency to find compromises rather than take hard stances allowed him to appear supportive while avoiding the direct professional risks that Liam and Louis willingly accepted. So on the backs and on the pain that was experienced by Louis and Liam, Harry naturally and without apology sort of like reaped the benefit of risks he didn't take. All right. So in strategic contrast, industry analyst Jennifer Cohen's observation in Variety highlights this distinction. Harry's support often came in forms that were characterized as showing leadership. See, showing leadership is one thing, being a leader, totally different thing. By management, suggesting his advocacy methods aligned with rather than challenge power structures. So, unlike Liam and Louis, who demonstratedly put their own contracts, finances, and industry relationships at risk with their advocacy, Harry's documented support remained within boundaries that preserved his professional standing, while still allowing him to appear supportive to bandmates and the public. This pattern, which is almost like this sort of it's like a subterfuge, right? I'm not going to call it gaslighting. That's a little too harsh, but it's like it's what's it called? It's like being politically promiscuous. Politics, not politics as in like political parties, but social politics. And this pattern allowed Harry to maintain a positive group dynamic relationship while simultaneously protecting his long-term career interests and industry relationships that would prove valuable during his solo career transition. So if you think of, so that's how Harry benefited from literally the pain of his bandmates. So let's take a look at this. So I'm going to give some credit where credit is due, because nobody's all good, nobody's all bad, except maybe Simon. I don't know him. There's just been too many other bands that have talked about how he has not been very kind to them. So here's some other documented support that I will say, if you found a way to make this look like he was trying to look out for his own interest, I think the argument would be much weaker. So one was he did provide support during family emergencies. So when Louis's mother, Joanna Deacon, told the Mirror before her passing in 2016, when Louis needed to rush home for family emergencies, Harry would often handle his promotional obligations without making it public, allowing Louis the privacy he needed while taking on extra work himself. Zayn's anxiety support. So mental health consultant Dr. Amanda Torres told Psychology Today in 2015, Harry would voluntarily alter his own pre-show routines to create a quieter environment when Zayn was experiencing anxiety, even when it disrupted his own preparation process. However, it still pales in comparison to Liam and Louis' extraordinary support measures. So here's what Liam did to support his bandmates. He, number one, direct management confrontation. Former assistant tour manager Kevin Peterson told Enemy in 2016, Liam directly confronted management over exhausting schedule demands when Zayn was visibly struggling with anxiety. He put his own standing with executives at risk, stating he would refuse certain appearances if Zayn wasn't given adequate recovery time. This resulted in Liam being excluded from key promotional opportunities as an apparent consequence. Think about it, Harry Styles would never do this. God forbid I don't have attention. All right, contract violation risk. Oh, you'd never see Harry do that because, it's all about me. Legal consultant for Modest Management Rachel Winters revealed to Music Business Weekly in 2015, Liam knowingly violated contract terms. You know why? Because Liam cared more about the human rights of Niall being treated with respect. It didn't matter that he could lose money. His valuing of Niall as a human being and as a bandmate, that was priceless. That mattered more. So basically, Harry, you're kind of a hoe. All right. So Liam knowingly violated contract terms by insisting Niall guitar playing would be featured more prominently live. He threatened to disrupt performances if Niall wasn't allowed creative expression, despite written warnings that this could trigger financial penalties in their agreements. 3. Career-risking advocacy. Producer Rick Knowles told Rolling Stone in 2015, during album 3 recording sessions, Liam stood up to Simon Cowell himself. Talk about confronting the Diablo. That's a Spanish word, look it up. Insisting that Zayn's R&B influenced vocal arrangements be preserved on several tracks, despite label pressure to make them more commercial. You think Harry would do that? Hell no. Harry, management's bitch. Liam was removed from subsequent production meetings as a result, potentially damaging his own future production aspirations. All right, and how about our Louis? Louis also engaged in some high-risk support actions. Also, 1. Management defiance. So, tour vocal director Helene Horlick told Music Week in 2015, Louis openly defied management directives. So, you know what? So Harry saw an opening here, in my opinion, of, oh, look, these two are doing this, so I'm going to get in there and kind of be the mediator, but management will still like me because I look like I'm coming with a solution. And, it's clever. So Louis openly defied management directives by restructuring vocal arrangements during the Take Me Home tour to protect Niall's voice when he was struggling with strain. He was formally reprimanded and fined. And keep in mind, Louis was helping put his sisters to school. So when he was fined, it didn't just affect him, it affected his younger sisters, who he has always taken care of from all accounts. Okay, according to what he told me being Helen Horlick, but refused to revert to the approved arrangement. So he took a loss. You think Harry would do that? No. If you have evidence he would, then please defend him. All right. And there was also public defense at contract risk. So legal correspondent Michael Schmidt reported in Billboard in 2014, Louis publicly defended Zayn's absence from key Asian tour dates against the approved PR narrative, directly contradicting management statements. This triggered a contract review that put part of his royalty structure at risk, yet he maintained his position. Because I've said this before, Zayn was struggling with an eating disorder as a result of the amount of control and invasion and intrusiveness of that contract. And eating disorders, they're not a joke. They have a very high lethality rate. Now, I'm not saying Louis knew this, but given everything that I have researched about Louis, I wouldn't put it past him to have actually looked into it, because he had such care and concern for other people that he probably, most likely, came up and found that it is a statistic about eating disorders. So once again, Louis went to bat because Zayn's life was far more important than royalty, and at personal cost to him, being the one who took care of his family at such a young age. So do you see what I mean? I have respect for Louis, even if I may not agree with a song or whatever, and maybe I think, what if I don't like a design one day, which I doubt, but just let's say for the sake of argument. But because he has my respect, I will never call him the names that I will call Harry, because I don't respect Harry. And you know what? Hate me. I don't care. I don't want you to hate Harry. I don't hate Harry. You can't hate someone you don't know. I just don't respect him. All right. So career sacrificing solidarity. See, I believe in karma, and I believe that Louis Tomlinson has such loyal fans. And no, I am not on his payroll. I am not Harry Styles. I am doing this mainly because it's fun. It's a good break for me. But I'm doing this because I've always felt Louis was special. And I was right. I just didn't know all the other things that have happened in the course of his career that make me go, yeah, solid guy. And it really saddens me to have researched all this. I was sad enough when Liam Payne passed, but now I'm really, really sad. Especially, too, because Liam left behind a 7-year-old son. Okay, So, former Psycho executive Amanda Taylor confirmed to The Independent in 2016 that Louis deliberately damaged his own relationship with key Sony executives by vocally opposing their decision to minimize Zayn's solos on the Midnight Memories album. His concerns were dismissed, and he was subsequently given fewer featured vocal parts himself, which appeared to be retaliatory. And so Harry sees all this, and Harry would never risk anything happen to him because Harry's all about Harry. Yeah, let your bandmates take the blows, and yet you maneuvered yourself, and so you gained the favor, and you became management's bitch, and you got all this $20 million marketing budget off the blood, sweat, and tears of your bandmates. Fuck you, Harry Styles. Fuck you. All right. Financial risk-taking. So business manager Alan McAvoy told the Financial Times in 2015 that Louis fronted substantial money to ensure Niall could bring his preferred guitar tech on tour, and management refused the additional expense. This violated terms in their management agreement, risking financial penalties that would have exclusively affected Louis. Now, Harry Styles, being the big favorite, if he had wanted to push, he wouldn't have had to go this far because management wanted Harry. But did Harry step in, knowing all that was going on? No, because, in a way, I think he's a de facto user, actually, because if you saw that your beloved was taking blows for you psychologically and even physically, and yet you just let him, what the hell? Then what is love to you? Okay? All right. And there's a pattern of consequences that both Liam and Louis endured. One was a systemic response to advocacy. Industry analyst Jennifer Cohen wrote in Variety in 2016, a clear pattern emerged when Liam and Louis faced tangible professional consequences for their advocacy efforts on behalf of bandmates. This included reduced media opportunities, fewer solos, exclusion from high-profile writing sessions, and internal financial penalties, none of which were documented in relation to other members' advocacy efforts. Yeah, so Harry gets to get away with it. And you know what? I am really glad that you don't have that angel cherub look anymore. I'm kind of glad you've lost your curls because you had early onset receding hairline. And I'm glad, actually, that you're now facing the karmic debt of what you did. Because I'm not blaming him for Liam, but I think that he was a player in what happened to Liam. And with the amount of backing that Harry had, because Harry, you make money, you are the golden child. It's marketing. You could have used your position to help the other two as a thank you, but it didn't occur to you because all it is about you. And how much do you love Louis? Because we know Louis loves you, but how much do you love Louis? Because love is a verb, and you let him take all the hits? Again, fuck you, Harry Styles. All right, differential treatment. Former publicity coordinator Thomas Wright told PR Week in 2015 that when Louis challenged management's decisions regarding Zayn's schedule, he was labeled difficult in internal communications. The same behavior from other members was characterized as showing leadership in meeting notes I observed. So so Harry used Louis's difficulty to make himself look good. And you see, this is what you call managing up. See, Harry knows how to manage up because Harry will basically throw you under the bus for himself. And so now that explains why I see the light in Harry's eyes gone, because when you betray people, when you basically benefit off the sacrifice and pain of others, because it's all about you, you know what? Energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. And what goes around comes around. That is not me being new agey, because I'm not about that. Physics. Look it up. Okay. And there were some also notable high-stakes interventions. One, contract renewal leverage. So entertainment lawyer Sarah Michaels revealed to Hollywood Reporter in 2015 that during contract renegotiations, Liam and Louis jointly threatened to hold up the entire process unless Niall received equal treatment regarding creative input. They effectively put their own contract terms at risk when they could have secured better individual deals by negotiating separately. Which, guess who negotiated separately? Harry Styles. Okay. Tour cancellation threat. Tour director Paul Higgins confirmed to The Guardian in 2016 that Louis and Liam informed management that they would both claim illness and cancel performances if Zayn wasn't granted mental health breaks during the particularly grueling Asian leg of the tour. Because remember, Zayn was having an eating disorder, And I'm willing to bet that they knew how lethal an eating disorder could be if Zayn's mental state was not given reprieve. This put them at risk of personal liability for venue cancellation fees, something no other member offered to do. No other member offered to do, as in Harry Styles. All right, let's go back to a bit of a comparative analysis again. Industry journalist Mark Sullivan wrote in his 2017 Billboard retrospective, "The support dynamics within One Direction revealed distinct patterns. While all members showed moments of solidarity, documentation suggests Liam and Louis consistently engaged in higher risk advocacy that directly challenged management authority and put their own standing at risk. These actions carried measurable professional consequences that weren't evident in relation to other supportive behaviors within the group, mainly about Harry." Former Modest Management employee Catherine Reynolds noted in her 2018 music industry memoir, "The difference wasn't in whether support existed between members, but rather the willingness to accept professional consequences for that support. Basically, Harry will never put himself on the line for you, even if it means your very life, because he's just an asshole." The management team understood which members would back down when threatened with penalties and which would hold their ground regardless of personal costs. So, okay, let's be kinder here. Louis is the Lionheart, which means bravery, like Richard the Lionheart, because lions, the heart of a lion, all those references refer to courage. And Harry is a fucking coward. Because to me, it's like, I'm not saying that any of this negates Larry Stylinson. I honestly believe Larry Stylinson is totally real now, because on some level, Harry would feel indebted, and also because Harry can't stick up for himself. He needs his husband. But I would say that this is the tragedy that was leading up to Liam Payne, because thank God for social media and the fans and the fact that there are documented statements. I just think that the people who bullied Liam and people who just fell into the Harry thing, they just didn't know, because the media formed the narrative. But the fans know. And I think Larry Stylinson is much more complex than maybe initially believed. I do think there's people who think they have this fairy tale notion of it. I certainly did at one point, because I will say that perhaps because of other things that still have not come to light, the interference that was done to Louis and Harry, and also Harry being so young, it is quite possible that the management, they know your vulnerability, and Harry really wanting to be liked, and also just the torture of their relationship being treated the way it was. I can see how Harry could have been just scared into submission, and he just wasn't born with, it's someone who was a Marine said to me, and I've had other people that were like U.S. Marines say this, and it's really interesting, but they said that, if I can paraphrase it accurately, something around how Marines are born, they're not made. It's like the raw material was there and it was just polished up. It's kind of like the metaphor analogy of how there was a block of clay and David was already there, David, the statue David, and all that Michelangelo had to do was chop away anything that wasn't David, and that's what gave the sculpture. It's kind of like that's how they were making the analogy of how Marines are not made, they're born. Basically, it's in you. It's either in you or it's not in you, right? And when it comes to Liam and Louis, it clearly, at the ages that they were, with the, not coming from a showbiz family, it was in them. Like, that bravery was in them. And it's a little sad when you think that, all that sacrifice amounted to really them being blackballed by the industry, despite the two of them, despite Liam having 37 writing credits and Louis having 38, and there wouldn't have been the One Direction that we came to know, that was the global phenomenon, if it had not been for both of them, and yet when the band went on hiatus and they were all embarking on their solo careers, what happened was, well, Harry got all the glory. Harry had the machine. And so I have been saying that if you look at what Niall has accomplished and what Liam has accomplished, and, because, Liam just, I think if he had had the machine behind him, he would have been much bigger than Harry, to be quite honest with you, because Liam is talented. And people are only now figuring it out. But if you look at just the fact that Harry needed all that help to get to where he is, if you take that away, and if all of the members started with an equal playing field, what Harry's solo career would look like, very different. The fact that Louis didn't need the infrastructure behind him to be where he is today, if he had even half what Harry had, he would just, he would have had way more Grammys, right? So yeah, I think Watermelon Sugar is kind of a fun little song, but it's nowhere deep as anything Louis Tomlinson's ever written, or what Niall Horan or even Liam Payne came up with. So, Grammys, Oscars, bestsellers, not all of it is about artistic content. It's just about who is a good little bitch to management. And Louis, you are amazing.